Hi everyone. Hope you're having a nice couple of days. As mentioned, I am co-founder director at Donor Republic, and we work with quite a lot of non-for-profits, as you've heard. So a lot of the examples I'll show today are NFP based, but I also am a co-founder and director at another e-com agency. So what I want to talk about today is specifically email and personalization and the forgotten power of personalization. And so previously I was going to talk about the whole sort of purchase funnel, like pre-purchase, purchase, post-purchase, and then it just got too big and it was too long. So I've decided to just drill into something that I'm quite passionate about. And of the 150 clients at Donor Republic, of the 30 clients we've got at Ecom Nation, I'm often frustrated by the lack of data collection strategies, the lack of personalization in their content and communication. And everybody knows it, it's very simple, it's very basic, but what I'm learning is that simple and basic just isn't easy. So what I want to show today is some before and afters really on how powerful it is. And ultimately, the presentation is just to bring it up on your agenda a bit, ultimately. So can I get a show of hands, just so I understand who's doing what? So for those of you that are doing email, and for those of you that know someone doing email, do you know if your organization is using and utilizing pearls, personalized URLs? So show of hands, is anyone using pearls? Someone's got half a hand up. Someone's got a hand up. Okay, so that does astound me a little bit as well. So hopefully this is useful for you guys. So in 2017, like I learned about personalization, in 2005 or whatever it was. I was lucky enough to go to a conference in America and they were talking about specific themes. So theme number one was data, as we all know, data capture, how important that is and how you use it and what you can and can't capture. The next thing was the use of technology and how we haven't embraced and utilized technology to capture data and use it back. The other thing was, digital transformation. So how do we use data, technology, and digital in order to end up with a happy customer or donor in this case, because it was a fundraising conference. And so 5-6 years ago, I was kind of obsessed in this world for a bit, and I just don't think we've moved fast enough in this area. I kind of preach that religiously. I see a few of you nodding at me, so I imagine you feel the same way. And so after the conference, I came back to Australia and, I got this sort of email and I blanketed out some of the fields and it was like, dear something supporter, they don't even use my name. So it's so basic. I hope this email finds you well. No full stop. There's typos throughout. There's double spaces and I'm like, okay, this is not good. And then in America, I had spent some time there, did a readathon, and I read loads of books. I don't like reading, by the way. In fact, I hate reading, but I read some books and raised quite a bit of money. And I got a blanketed email back, generic. No segmentation, no personalization, no references to the amount of money I made, no references to the books I read. Really lazy, sloppy, didn't make me feel good. Then, again, I'm a donor of a particular charity, and they've sent me their COVID-related policies on what they do with their clients and their customers. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm not a client, I'm not a customer. The email is completely irrelevant. And so, after the conference and then coming back and seeing these things just started to show up for me and the frustration started to build, I suppose. And ultimately, I was just left with, I'm probably going to trip on that, ultimately, I was left with not feeling special. It wasn't about me. And it can feel quite robotic. Got to get an email out, bash it out quick. Got to get some comms out quick, bash it out, bash it out. And that's the merry-go-round I see a lot of my clients are on, and including myself, really. And ultimately, where is that love? In non-for-profit sector, the heart is obviously quite critical. What I'm learning in the e-com sector is it's all about the product. And so what I've been able to translate from non-for-profit to e-com is, well, where's the emotion? Where's the heart? Where's the story behind this product? And that's probably a separate topic. It's okay if you're a commercial organisation doing a clinical task. You know, my internet went down, fix the internet, here you go, 1, 2, 3, bang. You know, there's no love here. Could they elicit some? Sure. Could they have some personalisation? Sure. But it's not really needed. So what I was thinking about a couple of years ago, and I went to uni, and I thought, okay, I started to learn about UX, CX, what are the core ingredients? Everyone talked about it, but when I asked them, what does it mean to you, nobody could actually tell me. It all meant something different to a different audience. So just understanding what they're actually teaching at uni at the moment, I was picking that apart, and I thought, okay, well, what's the initial insight? What's the piece of research? The research was most of the donors we worked with didn't really like receiving emails from charity land. They were all about the charity, right? The success metrics, email conversion rates were poor, open rates were poor, click-through rates were poor, donations were poor. Email doesn't work. Email doesn't work in non-for-profit land. Email doesn't work. I'm like, hang on a minute. I've just been at a conference in America and in the UK, and email does work. I'm not sure we're doing it properly, right? So then you look at the insight, and you look at the personas, and you think, okay, donors, customers aren't responding. So that's the insight. So then you start to plan the concept and go, well, why aren't they responding? Because it's all about you and not about me. So we went through like the theoretical side of planning CX and UX. Then we looked at some basic principles around basic UX. Has anybody seen this before? No? So it's pretty simple in terms of when we look at an email now, we look at the basic role. So is it aesthetically pleasing? Is it accessible to everyone across every platform? Is it simple? But specifically what I want to talk about today is the intuitiveness. Is it intuitive for me to walk through this email process so simply that it optimizes my click-through rate, it optimizes my conversion rate, and it minimizes my bounce rate? That's ultimately what I'm aiming for here in this process. And so then I started to look at the industry averages in Campaign Monitor, MailChimp, you name it. And I've circled the non-for-profit land because that's where I'm from, really. And there's a really, and you can look at your own rates, and they do them every year, by the way. This is a couple of years old, but it's in the best format to show it to you today. So the non-for-profit open rate is 25%, one of the best there is. And that's probably because when we do research, it's like donors want to hear feel-good stories. Most customers want to hear feel-good stories. But then the click to open rate is the lowest. And that's probably because, number one, they probably feel like they're going to get slugged for a donation. But number two, the content isn't about me. I don't feel special here. And that's the research we've done through, I'd say, 2,000 donors around why email isn't quite working in the sector. And so, you know, I'm not a fan of banks. Not many people are, I imagine. But this was really interesting for me. It went from me absolutely hating the CommBank, and sorry if anyone's here from the CommBank, to, you know, mildly disliking them, right? And this is like in this section, I don't know if you can all see it, but it's like, Dear Andrew, thank you for visiting the McGill branch. So they know they've used a piece of data there at McGill. Last week, that's another piece of data. To finalise your bank guarantee, that's another piece of data. With Samita Banerjee, that's another piece of data. They have used 5 pieces of data up front in that first line, and I'm in. This is actually about me. It's not some generic nonsense. The next line is, we understand from Samita and her team that you were kind enough to provide your feedback regarding the issue you experienced with your bank guarantee. I mean, these guys took 6 months to get me a bank guarantee. So, you know, I went in there not overly happy, right? So already, that is about me. Brilliant. Did a survey, filled in, and I think I said, I don't understand why I'm paying $10 a month when I have email receipts come through to me. The next piece of communication was brilliant. We'll take that fee away from you. Simple, basic, easy, about me. Love it. Love it. So my business partner Marcus and I donated some money to the bushfires for WWF, our biggest client. And, you know, it was a substantial amount. And then the next piece of comms we got was another follow-up bushfire emergency. So it's generic content prompting me at $60, right? So, and it's asking for my email. You already have my email in your database. So then I click to make a donation and I have to fill in all my details again. You've got all of them on your database. It's lazy, it's sloppy, it increases bounce rates, it decreases click-through rates. But also, because we gave it on our credit card before, you can PCI compliant encrypt my credit card and play it back on the donation form. But that hasn't happened in this piece, right? So Lifeline, another really big non-for-profit, generic content, no personalization, no prompts, no references to people that have been impacted in my life through suicide, through surveys I've sent in. Really sloppy work, right? Then I go to make a donation and I'm pointed to the generic landing page. And so, you know, again, the donations we've made are above those amounts. And I have to fill in all my details again. And I have to fill in the traffic light system. And I have to fill in the bicycle system. And I'm lost. And then clients ring and go, oh, we've got 93% bounce rate and our emails aren't working. I'm like, yeah, no shit. I could have told you that. And so there's got to be a better way, surely. I do make a donation, despite all this nonsense. And I'm treated like this. You like that?
Yeah, that's funny. Sorry.
It's funny, yeah, but it...
That's why it's funny, right? Because they're a big not-for-profit.
Massive.
I expect better.
$600 million, you know, what, and that's how they treat their donors. I was going to say customers, but have a think about how it relates to you, I suppose, is the context. You know, how does it relate to you? What's the journey like? And we've heard a lot about journey work today and yesterday, but I'm probably just drilling into some key examples. And so Vinnie's, another massive organisation, generic content, generic landing page on their website. Fill in the detail. You can see it's getting a bit tedious now, but even Hutt Street, you know, someone in SA we work with, really best practice comms. You know, really lovely. It's all about me. Thanks to you. You know, you've given Beverly. That's really beautiful comms. The problem is you head to the website and it's a dog's breakfast. There are so many things for me to prompt here, I don't even know what I'm doing. And I've also got the fire hydrant thing. But they don't do that in direct mail. See, direct mail has evolved so much that you capture data, you personalize the content religiously. And you've got variable prompts, you've got variable paragraphs, you've got variable donations, and we haven't quite caught up digitally, I think. Then after you make the donation, you get, you know, a very cold and clinical, transactional, TPG-like, no offense to TPG, TPG-like, because that was the example I showed, receipt. There's no proposition, there's no brand, there's no communication. It doesn't make me feel anything. And then I open the PDF and I get this beautiful tax invoice. Children's Hospital Foundation, oh, my address is on there, just ignore that. And so, you know, what about if we could do something like that in the thank you? If the story was about the boy, then why can't we show the update straight away and resonate the proposition, which is bringing hope to a child in his life? Why can't we show where the money goes? Why can't we work harder in the post-purchase or the post-thank you? Diabetes SA, invoice, clinical, transactional, not thought through. They had no money to work with us at that time, or the budget, sorry. So get on Word, Microsoft Word. Use a template. It's pretty easy to update your thank you. And then when they say our subsequent gift rate has doubled and tripled because of our thank you, it's like, yeah, of course. You're making donors feel valued, special, and you're showing where the money's going. Cancer Council, we have a lovely marketing person in the Cancer Council. It's transformed their results over there if you need to speak to an amazing marketer, Kathy. So my mum passed away with cancer, unfortunately, a couple of years ago. Horrible time in my life and our family's life. And my family and I donated some money, and we got a thank you, and it was lovely. It was a lovely thank you, but It just didn't work hard enough. And I work with the team at Cancer Council. I'm like, we could be better here. What are we actually trying to say? How are we trying to make donors feel? How come there's no data here based on the donation I've given? How come there's no preferences here based on the survey I've filled in the past? It's pretty just stock standard. But what about if we could relay a proposition around that donors love and have said, we give because we want to give people time to do whatever they want to do with it. Ryan wants time to love, Hope wants time to live, and Gina wants time to breathe. And it's a nice thank you process. And so, being data-led myself, as many of you are, I imagine, we test the extra investment in personalising or thanking in a communications journey, and we know that second gift rates, third gift rates, fourth gift rates, fifth gift rates, sixth gift rates are going to be higher when you just put a little bit more effort into personalisation and thanking. And so that was a trial within 10,000 donors. And when you roll it out to 50,000 donors in that database, you can see there's a massive net difference. Now I know, I've been at the board at Guide Dogs where they're like, we're not investing 25 grand to say thank you. That's ridiculous. How are you going to measure that? And so I appreciate you're probably going to need to measure and test before you roll out and learn. So that's the old way, just old school, simple, easy, no love, no care, no data collection, no personalisation. But there is a new way. There is a new way, and that's what we've been working really hard on at Donor Republic with Charities, but also in Ecom Nation with e-commerce organisations, which is, well, we've got the data in the database. Why can't we use it in the email? So does anybody do variable paragraphing in emails at least? I imagine you would. 1, 2, 3. I know Adelaide people have a problem putting their hand up. So when you present in Sydney, everyone's like, and when you present in Melbourne, when you present in London. So Adelaide people are shy, I know, but I might ask that again just so I understand. Does anybody use variable paragraphs in their emails? There we go, that's got a bit more of a response, better response rate, I love it. So still not enough though, right? So let's bring in the data in an email. You can use Campaign Monitor, MailChimp, Mercado, Bronto, Vision 6, there's like thousands of them. But then we can also personalize the landing page, a Pearl, personalized URL. You get your own dedicated landing page, which is amazing. I can prompt, do you want 400, you want 4,000, you want 6,000? I can prompt my purchase of the e-commerce products I buy based on $44, $400, $4,000. I don't have to have generic content. I can say thank you with your name on it, so you know that it's relevant to you. But the best way to do this is through having a culture of data collection. So your leaders, your managers, they need to be preaching this culture and philosophy around data collection. And one of the best ways is through a survey. So I'm also keen to know, how often a survey is integrated into your comm strategies? Are they every year, every 6 months? And so does everybody have a yearly survey? It'd be nice to see that. So again, not enough hands, I think, for this room. One of the most powerful ways is, integrated survey. So there's 2 ways of doing that. There's right after the purchase decision, a couple of questions, 2 or 3 questions every time. Don't overwhelm them, don't bombard them. That works really well. Or there's the annual supporter or customer survey where your views are important to us. This is really also about a 2-way relationship with your customer. Normally they financially transact, that's one way, but we'd also like to get to know your values, your opinions, and what's important to you. And so when we use the survey, we collect vital data and we can use variable paragraphs in the emails, which, increase response by 2, 3, 4, 500%, as I'll show you coming up. But if I've donated to Save the Bilbies before, then you can, and I've donated $20, as Jeremy, a friend of mine, has. You can bring in that donation amount or bring in the purchase amount. You can use his name, you can use his email. Then he can click on donate with my credit card, and you can encrypt his credit card in that as a token. So you've gone from 7 clicks for the Bilbies to 2 clicks. The other thing that's really working quite well in both e-com and in non-for-profit is smart videos. So smart videos are a video that integrates, effectively it's a glorified mail merge. So you can integrate voice personalization through a computer, and you can integrate text personalization. And those two things work really well. So in the next example I'll show you, we have a campaign for Food Bank, and you'll hear it say, "Hi Sarah." Now that's a computer that says, "Hi Sarah." And then it'll say, we're reaching a campaign target of 100,000 or something. And so when you segment your database, you can have a target of 100, you can have a target of 400. It depends on what propositions you're getting. Then I can prompt you differently as well. So I can personalize my video to the audience. Have a listen. Hopefully it works.
You don't have enough food to feed your family this Christmas?
That's not my music. I did hear it. Shall I try again?
Hello, Sarah.
Can you imagine how it would feel knowing you don't have enough food to feed your family this Christmas? All it takes is an accident, a large bill, or an unexpected job loss to tip a family into crisis. It could be your neighbour, a relative, or a friend that might be going without but is too ashamed to ask for help. Shouldn't every Australian have enough to eat this Christmas? Your donation of just $40 will provide a hamper just like this one, with enough food to feed a family. Please donate today, and we'll use our army of wonderful volunteers to pack and provide your hamper to families that need it most. In fact, we're hoping to raise $146,000 by Christmas Eve to pack and deliver 4,000 hampers to struggling families. Your support means that Food Bank can provide the essentials such as meat, vegetables, milk, bread, and fresh fruit. It means Renee's family can enjoy a Christmas meal together. It takes an enormous amount of courage to admit that you need help, and an enormous amount of kindness from people just like you to offer a helping hand. I wish we could tell you that Renee's story is rare, but it isn't. Please donate today and be as generous as you can. Please support our urgent appeal this Christmas by donating $40 to feed a family in crisis. With your help, families like Renee's will have food on the table this Christmas and hope for the future.
Yeah, so look, there's a lot of personalisation in that, whether you can tell that or not. And, the content is quite kitsch, it's quite soppy, that's the land we live in NFP land. But you also need to understand your audience. To a major donor giving you $1 million, you probably wouldn't give them a video like that. It would be a bit different. But that's how we personalise to the masses. You can also personalise a thank you.
Hello, Marcus. Thank you for participating.
So sorry, I hate cutting those kids forward, but I'm going to run out of time. But you can do an ask or a thank video through smart video technology. And so the overarching strategy really is, how do you build a framework that personalizes the email, the EDM, that personalizes the landing page, which is a Pearl, that personalizes the donation or transaction gateway, and that personalizes the thank you based on what you've given to. You can also use Pearls in SMSs. So if you get an SMS with a link, it can be straight to my preferences, and you can personalize the video. So that's the framework we were trying to set up, really, that personalized experience. I'm just going to skip through that for just a time. So I'm just going to show you some before and afters, really, because this is where I think it's really powerful. So Food Bank Victoria, before doing personalisation, Pretty standard email, pretty standard content, minimal text, not much love, not much consideration, not bringing any data. Going to the generic landing page of their website. So everybody gets the same prompt. Personalized version, variable paragraphs, variable prompting, variable stories based on their preferences of what they've given to in the past. Variable Pearl landing page after the initial donation, bringing in their donor data or customer data, depending on what land you live in. Personalizing the gateway, and then what you go from is raising $300 on an email to raising $20,000 on an email to raising $40,000 on an email. Complete shift in psychology for the end user. And so we're like, okay, we're onto something here. This is transformational results, really. So we look at the open rates for volunteers that are traditionally low in open rates. We look at the click-through rates. They're well above the averages, well above. What's also important is, through the dawn of time in non-for-profit land, people are not giving more digitally. They are staying the same. But with Pearls, 30% of the customer base is upgrading because the content is all about me and I feel awesome. I see value in this exchange. And we also get quite nice comments back. And so think back to that Lifeline example I gave you before. Now we rewind, we fast forward, and we look at personalization, and we look at using variable paragraphs in the email. We look at making the landing page all about the donor, bringing the donor data in. We forget the traffic light system, we forget the bicycle system, which is another platform, by the way, asking you to do what they want, not what we want. We lose control with that. And we don't have the generic landing page. And so we go from raising, normal EDMs used to raise 2,000 to 5,000, EDM 1 cracked 20, EDM 2 cracked 40, EDM 3 cracked 60. It's ridiculous. Vinnie's went from 20,000 an email to 67 next email. It's like transformational results. So we all talk about personalization, we all talk about data, but I think it just gets to the bottom of the pile. And where I get really passionate because we're leaving money on the table for people that need it. So we did a head-to-head test because that was a year-on-year test. That was a year-on-year test, and a lot can happen in a year. Let's 50-50. Let's do a split test. Let's test the Pearl versus the no Pearl. So you've got the old way, the generic landing page, selecting what you need to do. You've got the old thank you, you're awesome, no love and care and thought into that. And you've got the old receipt, which you've seen. But now let's test the new way that I've just been showing you. And so head to head, and I mentioned you should just test a small, minute section of your database, 5,000 in this particular case. Obviously, click-through rate's better, response rate's better, conversion rate's better, income's better, average gift is better, it's all better. And it shouldn't be a surprise, really. Blind Foundation New Zealand did their guide dog puppy appeal. This is another year on year in terms of results. I mean, look at the landing page conversion rate, out of this world. So that was really like non-for-profit land, and many of the room, and probably not in non-for-profit land, but there are transferable skills there, really. Most marketing is. And so in my other agency, Ecom Nation, the first observation I had was you guys are just flogging product. And you've got so much data in that database, it's not coming through. So, they were like, what would you know? You just work in charity land, that's really easy. And so we did a 50-50 test. We did product focus on World Coffee Day. which was, hey, coffee lovers, we're excited to celebrate World Coffee Day, blah, blah, blah. Customer focus, and they were really scared to write long emails because there's this notion that long emails don't work. You know, I'm here to tell you that's absolute nonsense. I've tested for 20 years. If the content is valuable and what you have to say is valuable, then it's the length of whatever you need to say. Right? So in the next one, hey Andrew, it's using my name here, by the way. The first one isn't. So that's number one. Hope you're enjoying. There's a typo there anyway. Hope you're enjoying the Elegance vodka selection. So we bought an Elegance vodka pack. So that's good. They've used another piece of data. I'm excited that it's World Coffee Day, and I know that you will be too, given your love of coffee. So I ticked, in the survey that they sent me that I love coffee. So there's 3 pieces of comms there already. So this next piece is also really good. And because I know you love a punt as well, so gambling, I like to have a punt occasionally, you'll be right involved in this one. Simply follow Bevmar on Insta and tag a mate, bracket, maybe Ben, Simon, Dave or Kylie, my good mates. So we discussed is that borderline creepy and stalking? Or is that okay? To be honest, I don't know. I think every organisation and every culture needs to understand what is suitable for them. I don't have a right or wrong. Again, it's what you're comfortable with. Forget the names, that might be a bit extreme. But I think it's more the notion of bringing data in, is the concept. And so email 2, again, a bit more personalisation. Email 3, again, longer personalisation. I won't bore you with reading the text here, but it's really just taking the, personalised content from the database. And so, same thing. Personalised doubled the result of unpersonalised in e-com land, where they're not interested in the person. They said this will never work. People just want to buy the product. And clearly it does work. So we've been rolling that out to all of our database as well. So, to recap, let's put some love into our communication. Let's put some thought. Let's stop for a minute. Let's get off the hamster wheel and let's think about what we're actually trying to say, why we're trying to say it, and what do we want the customer to feel. That's just an absolute basic. I think we've heard that all day. Let's think about the email specifically. And I didn't go into the benchmarks about how important email is in e-commerce, but it's one of the most fundamental channels. Let's customize the communication based on the customer's preferences. I forgot what I'm trying to say here. Let's make them fall in love with you. That's 2 people in love, I hope. And then, let's make the money fall for whatever cause you need it to fall for. And if you need to make more sales in your job to take your pressure off, or if you need to make more money in any foundations or non-for-profits you work in to help beneficiaries, then remember the forgotten power of personalisation and how it can improve your results. Thanks very much.
Fantastic preso, Andy. I think we all could benefit from that reminder. I think, Anna-Louise, did you want a lapel mic, by the way? Okay, that's fine. I'll give you mine. Easy, done, great. Sorry, that's the next section. So, first of all, thank you very much. So,
oh, cool.
Start with some wine for
awesome.
you. So, thank you so much, Andy. Were there any questions for Andy? It looks like we've got one here.
Just with the audio, the video, how does it treat names that potentially have uncommon spelling or just aren't common?
That's a good question. I normally talk about that. You have a default, just like you would in a mail merge, like hi friend or hi supporter or nothing. Yeah, so you'll work with a company, you'll probably flag some difficult names and pronunciations, difficultly pronounced names, not difficult names, and that's how that process works. Yeah.
Couple more questions. It looks like we've got a few. I thought there might be on this one. So,
thank you.
Kaylee, Tori, if you want to run to the back of the room.
Thank you, that was awesome. It's always great to hear your presentations. I have a question about the difference between kind of that appreciating and showing that you understand a donor versus asking for them to share with their networks at the end. So I know I get a lot of stuff, and I'll often incorporate a lot of things, especially around advocacy asks, to say, you know, I've supported X cause, share with your friends, and links to automatically post on social media, just to kind of build that social proof and spread the word, that kind of thing. I was just love to hear your perspectives on the value of asking for a share.
Absolutely. So in terms of it, one touch point out of many, yeah, so definitely share, absolutely. I think through research, donors that share are 4 times more likely with them and the recipient to increase their donation or respond. So fundamentally, share. Yeah.
Awesome.
Is that enough?
I think there was one. Sorry, can we just have everyone's hands up for a second? Who's got questions? So there's one, Matt, down the front here. We've got 2, so table 17, 16, 12, and then 19, and in the far corner. Okay, we'll do all those questions, and then it'll be time for Anna Louise to take the stage. So start down here. Start here, yep, we've got a mic there. Perfect.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I kind of have 2 questions. They're quite different. But the first one is, people get so many emails these days from organisations they've donated to or products that they've purchased, etc. How do you break through the clutter to make sure they open it in the first place? Like, is personalisation on the subject line enough, or do you do more than that? And the second one, obviously there's a lot of system integration needed when you have all that much data. It's not just about the name, but a lot of the preferences and all of that. Do you have any advice on how you can do personalisation when the system is not really supportive? You have data in many different systems that don't necessarily talk to each other and things like that.
Yep. So first question, just remind me again what the first question was, sorry. Clutter, yes. So I think that starts with just a copious amount of testing. So in basic form, name in subject line, it really varies sometimes. We've seen mixed results, but I think the key ingredient has been the first opening sentences. So language like I am calling you, wanting to speak to you today. I hope you're enjoying your. So the I and you language is fundamental to establish that connection. We read loads of emails that say, we hope you're having a great time. Who's this we? You know, it's detached. So you want to attach yourself to the writer and the reader. But yeah, having the variable paragraphs up front in the opening paras are critical. I think we also monitor time of day. So we look at GA, we look at our benchmarks, and we know that transactionally, most of that transactions come through Tuesday, Thursday, between 11 and 4 in our land, in donor land anyway. E-com's a bit different, and then we understand that we're loading them then. And so I really think, and you're absolutely right about the fatigue, and so we focus on value, not volume. When we send an email, let's make sure we send a bloody good one, rather than, and in one email, we're actually saying what you said in 7. So, and the second one was the technology. That's a bit of a minefield actually, but in the simplest form, you know, back in the days at Guide Dogs when we were dealing with Excel sheets, we would literally take the fields we knew, dump them into a separate sheet, use that as the master sheet, and then import it into Campaign Monitor or whatever it was. And so you can only start with the basics of what you've got. I do see a lot of clients get really tripped up in the complexities of system. So I think the golden rule is simplicity and don't have to do everything all at once. You've got 12 months, potentially, you know, one thing at a time, and what is it that's most important that you want to learn within the personalisation.
Very good. Over to table 5.
Just a further follow-up on the video personalisation, just how the outputs work in terms of, do you end up with hundreds of individual video files, or does it automatically populate into the email platform?
Yeah, so it's one master file, and it uses, just like Microsoft Word will use the main master file and then shrink all the index files. It's the same sort of thing. Yeah, so you have one master video, you literally get on a program and you drag voice text and you drag print text and you say fade in at 20 seconds, fade out at 30 seconds, but it's the size of it is one video, and it compresses all the rest of them.
Table 17, I think we had a question.
Pretty much the same question. What tool specifically are you using for that? I'm familiar with AI voice replication like Descript. Is that what you're using?
Me, I'm not technical at all, so I'm not going to make something up. I can find out and get back to you. My team have told me 100 times.
I'll shoot you an email. Yep.
Yes.
Sweet, very good.
I know there's cheap smart video at like $2,000. There's half smart video at like $5,000. And there's awesome smart video at like $20,000. So we've done different ones for different clients. Yeah.
Sorry, just raising hands. Yep.
Yes. You talked a lot about personalization, that it's linked to some extent to an individual focused. In regards to building community, when you are part of a bigger major cause that is bigger than you, and you feel that sense of belonging to something else, like all together we go for something positive. Do you find value in that, and if so, how it balances with that personalization approach?
That's a very good question. Yeah, I think building community is one of the most fundamental senses of belonging we can have in whatever field we're working in. So I do feel there's a balance there. So lead with personalization, make me feel special, but then in the upfront, but then in the subcontext, we're always saying stuff like, thank you for being part of a caring community that helps the koalas, so it's we do use community word a lot, and even in e-commerce, we're starting to build community clubs around wine, coffee, clothes, whatever it is. So I don't think it's either or, I think it's both. Yeah.
Very good. I know that we're running short on time. Eddie, are you around in the afternoon tea break today?
Yeah, I'm hanging around for the wine.
Oh, sweet. So I noticed there was probably about 3 or 4 questions. So if you have trouble finding Andy, please let me know and I will drag you over or drag him over to you, because I know that we've got a couple more speakers we need to get through. But thank you very much, Andy. That's been an amazing presentation today, and I think it's great for us to see some actual real live examples of personalisation today, given that it has been a topic that's come up a few times throughout the other presentation. So please put your hands together for Andrew Sabatino.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.